Hello, welcome to my new studio and to a new video. If you are just tuning in for the first time, my name is Adriana. I am an illustrator and an artist based in Philly, and I just moved to a new studio. It's not fully set up yet, but I do have my table set up and my desk because I have a project to do before Sunday. I was invited to be in a mini art show, and the only requirements for the piece that I get to submit are that it has to be tiny, and I've never made anything tiny like this before, so I'm gonna try something new for it. I was considering screen printing for it, but since I was in the middle of the move, I didn't really have the resources or the time to dive into a screen printing project. So I've already finished a few of the pieces for it, and I'm gonna bring you guys along so you can see the rest of the process while I finish this piece for the art show. The art show is at this place called At My House. I've never been. I haven't been to a lot of places because I'm new to Philadelphia. It is June 27th, so if you are in the area and you can make it, that would be really awesome. But for now, let's get started on this piece so that I can finish setting up my studio afterwards. For this piece, I really wanted to try something that I'm not used to, and since we had just moved, I was kind of forced to think outside the box a little bit and use different materials since my screen printing press is still not fully set up. I love to paint and draw, and really that's the whole reason I got into screen printing in the first place, so I thought I'd give it a try for this project. I started this little piece a while back while we were still living in our last house, so I already had kind of an idea of what I wanted to make. And when I made the first rough draft, I made it out of scrap pieces of watercolor paper, cut out some shapes of dogs, and colored them in using colored pencils. I'd been using colored pencils for some sketching recently, so I wanted to try them for the art show piece too, but after finishing the first rough draft, I realized I didn't really love the way the colors looked kind of waxy when I was done. And I don't know why I was so intimidated by painting the dogs from the start, but after realizing that the colored pencils weren't going to work, I took out my gouache and acrylic paint. After we moved, I set up a temporary work area to get this done before the due date. I took a little trip to the art store in my new area and found so many supplies there. This new area I'm living in is so cute, and there's so many trees and birds, and the art store was tucked behind some cute houses. I had such a great time finding the supplies for my mini piece there. I bought some illustration board and some thick watercolor paper and a bunch of colored pencil replacements for my very used and loved teeny tiny colored pencils that I had. At the time, I still wasn't sure if I was going to use those or paint, so I bought them anyway. I did end up using a green colored pencil to add some details to the background. I also bought some small pieces of wood to make the frame and a teeny tiny saw to cut the wood. I've never made a frame in my life, but I really said, yeah, I can do that, and just went for it. Then back at my studio, I got right to work. I cut the dogs out using an X-Acto knife, and part of that was really tricky, but I ended up using small scissors for some pieces. Then I used acrylic gouache and paint to paint them. I really wanted the flowers to be a bright pink, and I did have some acrylic paint that was perfect for that. I used a tiny miter saw kit to cut 45-degree angles on the long pieces of wood. For a second before having this kit, I thought I'd be able to cut the pieces without using it, but I'm glad I ended up buying it because it was definitely essential. I'm not an expert at any of this, by the way, and I may get some comments with suggestions on how to do it, so yeah, I'm listening. After cutting all the pieces, I sanded everything down and used wood glue to build the frame. Then I put the tiny finished piece inside and it all came together so nicely. The original rough draft took me a day or two to come up with, and building the finished piece took me about 3 days of working on and off. And I think it came out so cute, and I definitely want to make more tiny collages like this one.
Oh, they say there's a place where everyone's face shines like a diamond in the sun. Somewhere out there, the people do care, and all's really for one. When the weather gets hot people get cold, we're gonna leave the city of gold. In the city of gold, lots of people are old. Smells like burning wood. When the restlessness starts getting old, we'll set out